The world of modern relationships is constantly changing. New words, new dynamics, new ways for people to connect are popping up all the time. Today, we're going to deconstruct one you might have heard about, but maybe don't fully get: cucking. We're going to break down exactly what it is, why people do it, and what it might tell us about how relationships are evolving. So, right off the bat, here's the big question. Can sharing a partner actually make a relationship stronger? That question kind of challenges everything we're taught to believe about love, jealousy, and commitment. But for some people, the answer is a definite yes, and we're about to find out how. All right, so before we dive into the psychology of it all, the why, let's just make sure we're all on the same page with the what. Let's get a really clear definition down. Okay, so this is the textbook definition, right? You've got three main roles here. First, the cuckcakean. She's the woman who's encouraging the whole thing. Then there's her partner, the hot husband. And finally, the other woman, who's called the cuckcake. Now, you see that last part with the full consent of everyone involved? That is not just a footnote, folks. That is the absolute bedrock of this entire dynamic. Everything hinges on enthusiastic, ongoing agreement from all three people. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because you might be thinking, hey, isn't this just swinging or polyamory? Well, not quite. The key difference is in the focus. Swinging is usually symmetrical. Both partners are doing their thing. Cucking is asymmetrical. It's focused on the experience of one partner for the couple's shared pleasure. And it's different from polyamory because the main goal isn't necessarily to build multiple separate loving relationships, but to enhance the primary one. And if cucking has a sibling, it's definitely hotwifing. As you can see here, they're basically mirror images of each other. In hotwifing, it's the woman who has outside partners with her husband's encouragement. In cucking, you just flip the genders. But that core idea, one partner being shared with the enthusiastic support of the other, that's exactly the same. Okay, so we've got the what down. Now for the really juicy part, the why. Why would anyone want this? Let's get into the complex psychology and the different motivations for everyone involved. So let's start with the cuckquean. In many ways, she is the architect of this whole dynamic. She's often the one who wants it, who designs it, and whose pleasure is at the center of it all. And her reasons? Well, they're fascinating. So what's going on in her head? It's a really complex cocktail of motivations. You've got compersion, that's a big one. It's basically the opposite of jealousy, where you get genuine joy from seeing your partner happy. Then there's a powerful sense of control in setting all the rules. There's the voyeuristic thrill, the excitement of breaking a huge social taboo, and for a lot of women, seeing their partner being desired by someone else can be a massive turn-on that completely reignites their own passion for him. Okay, what about the husband? What's his angle in all this? What's in it for the guy who's being shared?
You might think it's all about, sexual novelty and a bit of an ego trip. And sure, that validation is part of it, but the real kicker for many is the psychological piece. Having his partner's enthusiastic blessing, that freedom from guilt, is huge. It transforms the whole experience. And many men report that this renewed sense of confidence and trust actually makes their bond with their primary partner even stronger.
And that brings us to our third person, the cuckcake. Why would someone want to step into this very specific role? For the cuckcake, a huge part of the appeal is the total honesty of it all. Think about it. No secrets, no sneaking around, no deception. It's a connection without all the usual baggage and expectations of a traditional relationship. And that can be incredibly empowering and freeing. Plus, there's the thrill of being desired and being the center of a couple's shared fantasy. So you've got all these complex feelings and motivations swirling around. How do you actually make this work in the real world without it all blowing up? Well, it all comes down to building a really solid framework. The rules of engagement are absolutely key.
Yeah, this quote right here, it absolutely nails it. The actual sex is, in some ways, the easy part. The real work, the thing that makes it all succeed or fail, is the level of communication. We're talking about a kind of radical honesty that most conventional relationships, frankly, never even get close to.
And that communication isn't just a one-time chat. It's a whole process. It starts with that first, brave conversation, just naming the desire out loud. Then comes the really detailed part, negotiating boundaries. And I mean everything. Physical stuff, emotional rules, safety protocols. And finally, it's not set it and forget it. It requires constant check-ins to make sure everyone is still feeling good, safe, and enthusiastic about the whole thing. And you've got to remember, cucking isn't just one thing. It exists on this massive spectrum. For some couples, it might be super low-key, like maybe she just wants to hear the stories afterward. For others, it's way more intense. Maybe she's watching in person. The emotional vibe can go from being really cooperative and exploratory all the way to involving intense power and humiliation dynamics. It's completely unique to each couple. Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Because what this all means, what it represents, goes way beyond just the bedroom.
And this is what's so fascinating from a cultural standpoint. Cucking completely flips the script on traditional gender rules. The typical story is of the poor, cheated-on wife who's a passive victim. Here, the woman is the active, powerful architect of her own desire and the relationship itself. It's a pretty radical claim of female sexual agency.
And this isn't just some niche, fringe idea. We're actually seeing this shift in the data. If you look at what people are searching for online, interest in more traditional non-monogamy, like swinging, has been going down. Meanwhile, searches for these more specific, highly orchestrated dynamics like cuckqueaning and hotwifing are on the rise. People are looking for something more designed. So as we start to land this plane, it brings us to the most important point of all. It's really easy to get caught up in our own judgments, to ask if this is right or wrong or normal. But the real test of any relationship isn't what you call it. It's about the principles underneath. Is there honesty? Is there enthusiastic consent? Is there genuine care for everyone involved? When a dynamic is built on that kind of foundation, it can be just as valid and just as fulfilling as any other. And that kind of leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. No matter what your relationship looks like, monogamous, open, whatever, what could we all take away from this level of intentional communication, this kind of conscious, deliberate design? It's definitely something to think about.